Hey YouTube, welcome back to Team Starlight's channel. We're back again with another deck profile, and today we have the one and only, the Macro Show.
What's up, y'all? I don't play Yu-Gi-Oh that much, but when I do, I freaking win. Today I was playing some Winged RHYNOS Chain Beats, my favorite deck in this format. I feel like this particular version, it's not too different from the last version I had, but I think the changes that I did make to it are what really put it over the top. So I wanted to show you guys because I know it's just a local win, but I do feel like this is like people can start cooking with this like variant of it, and I think this is the correct and best variant of this deck. So
Well, let's see what you got.
so obviously we got the standard triple ringed RHYNOS. He just can never be destroyed by a trap because he can always multiple times per chain you can bounce him with traps and stuff. It doesn't work in damage step, but like otherwise, he literally will always live if you have a chainable trap, like which I'll show you in a second which ones we have. But
He's not once per chain?
He's not once per chain. So like online it happens, and I explained it to you, it's so funny. Like I'll like attack those like D-prison. I'm like, okay, effect, and then they're like Fiendish chain sometimes, and I'm like, cute, effect, and then they like freak out. They're like, oh no, that's crazy.
I definitely for that.
Yeah, so like I think one of the beauties of this deck is that nobody knows what it does. Like that's a perfect example, and that does help a lot. But I think more and more people know roughly kind of what it does, and I've been working towards like making that kind of like a problem for people because it does other things besides this guy. I actually won multiple duels today without even seeing him. So yeah, but he's good. Makes chain links and stuff. The fourth and fifth RHYNOS is Breaker the Magic Warrior. He baits out back row, and in a deck like this, like sometimes you just need that +1 advantage that you can get. He also acts as multiple chain links. I've mentioned it before, but like I think 2's perfect amount. The way he works is that theoretically he's at minimum 2 chain links. So sometimes you already have like your setup in the back row, and you summon him. Chain link 1 will be his effect. Chain link 2 will bottomless it, and then chain link 3 jar into accumulated. Like he helps resolve those chain links at worst, and at best he's a +1. He just gets rid of a back row. And that's the logic why I have him. And you need a little bit more pressure. Winged RHYNOS isn't enough, you don't see him enough, and this is just another good body. So those are like the 5 little normal summons you run.
Nice,
So,
I like it. I like it.
yeah. Shout out, I love Breaker. Breaker's cool. Breaker should be used more. Now here's the spice that I run. I run triple Caius in this build. This is the Caius version with Fires of Doomsday and stuff, but Caius gives you a win condition. It gives you outs to problematic things in this format. There's a lot of stuff. Dupe block is a thing. Recruiters, like when I'm playing X-Sabers or Shining Angels and stuff, Caius just deals with it. Rykos and whatnot. So I think you need to be running Caiuses in Winged RHYNOS builds because he's very, very always live. It's like the second best Caius deck outside of Frogs, like genuinely. Like, I think you get it. I can run 3. Name another deck that can run 3 like this. There's probably like 6 other decks. Anyway, but like comfortably. Anyway, to help with the Caiuses, I run 1 Tragodia. Trag is just really good in this deck. You draw a ton. Against Deckling, you'll see I had a 3600 Trag. He tried to go for game, and Trag was just too big.
Yeah, that's a big
Trag is really easy to make big and really strong defensively. But I do think he's the weakest of your hand traps. I do find him to be dead most of the time, and I do actually end up signing him out sometimes. I won't tell you when, but I do end up signing him out because sometimes you just don't draw enough. In some matchups where you don't feel like you're getting anything resolved. So he's good, but he's the weakest of the hand traps. The best hand trap is Gores. Gores is insane in this deck. They don't expect it. They'll attack into like multiple back row, and I can chain almost all of them, and then still drop Gores, and it throws them off. Gores is insane. It's the other build boss monster of this deck. So you have triple Caius and the Gores are the 4 main boss monsters in this build. So yeah, I love Gores. Gores is our friend. And then the second best hand trap, and the one that I think should be ran, is Battle Fader. Battle Fader is, like I said, you draw a ton, and a lot of times, like the Heavy Storm, you draw like 3 cards or 2 cards, whatever. They'll think they're safe to go for game. Having this just protection is very important. You do have empty boards a lot. Winged RHYNOS will bounce himself a lot, and you'll just be stuck with empty boards. And you can just straight up lose if you get heavied or they black rose or whatever they do, right? Fader gives you that extra defensive utility while also being Caius fodder. Okay, so yeah, that's what Fader does, just defense. It's just really strong defense. I didn't run him. I was always on the fence about him, but now I'm convinced you need at least 1. And then the last tech card that I run is 1 Cyber Valley. So Cyber Valley pairs with all your main cards that you're running. He acts as, in my opinion, the 4th Caius. Like, not in the sense that he does the same thing, but it's like a 4th Monarch that you can use with the Fires of Doomsday. Because Fires of Doomsday has a very annoying stipulation that it must, to tribute it has to be a dark monster. So I would love to run a Ryza here, but I can't. So this kind of acts as a way to at least get value out of the tokens, because sometimes you just have no choice but to activate the tokens because they MST'd or they Raikou it or they Lila it. This gives you that value piece with it, and it was really good today. Every time I saw it, I either drew 2 or at one time they just attacked into it and I drew 1. It gives you, it just deckens a little bit, gives you some protection. That's all the monsters. I don't know how many that is. Like someone can count. That's all the monsters. There's only 6 spells in this deck. Heavy, MST, Brain for Caius, these 2 because they're the best, and you sometimes have 4 back row that you activate all of them. Like they set 4 to match your 4, and they're like, dude, I'm so sorry.
Right.
like I just use all the back row and then heavy them back, and it's so mean. MST is amazing. It's a chainable card. Like in this deck in particular, it's like I never side out MST. They side out like it's good against the Kree. It's good against everything that this deck gets hurt by. So yeah, always run the MST. And then the other star of the show is Fires of Doomsday. This is another chain link, so like the whole point of this deck is to resolve multiple chains so you can get accumulated fortune off. Fires of Doomsday is another card you can chain, and it helps make Caius live. It helps make Caius and Cyber Valley live. So that's like the entire purpose of it. And at worst, it becomes defense. And you'll see in a couple duels that I just activated to sponge some attacks so that I can survive. That's like the worst case scenario, but in the best case scenario, like you'll sponge an attack and you'll tribute and get like value because you get 2 tokens. But yeah, end phase, I usually like end phase. Whenever I say that, they just know Caius is coming. Like, so I love Fires of Doomsday. Fires of Doomsday is goated. Now the cards that make this deck function, I run only 9 draw traps, 6 actual like normal draw traps, and then the triple accumulated. So obviously you need to run all 6 of these. No matter what, these are the 6 you can never cut. These are the 9 you can never cut. The entire point of this deck is to resolve accumulated. This is your +1. When you resolve it, which is very easy to do because you have so many chainable cards, that's when you feel like it's steamrolling. You just get so much value out of these traps you're drawing into, the Gores, Trag, all that shit. And then yeah, these things keep your RHYNOS alive. They'll sometimes brain control your RHYNOS, you'll chain jar, or they'll soul exchange your RHYNOS, chain jar, chain legacy, bounce RHYNOS. So these cards are just insane. They just help you dodge every single thing in this format. Nice. We did it. We topped.
We got it.
We got top 3. We got top 3. Okay, we got 2 bottomless. Now here's the real defense. We got 2 bottomless, and triple D prison, double compulse. So I'll explain compulse because that's probably the weirdest one. These are obvious. You need to run as many traps as you can. D prison is insane this format. Bottomless is insane this format. I don't think I gotta explain those cards. They're not chainable, unfortunately, which is why I don't like them as much. I mean, I love them. They're good cards, but like you get heavied with those, they just do nothing. Compulse, on the other hand, I think is insane in this deck. It's good because any deck that like Bayou comes to mind. They synchro and stuff. This hurts them more than getting banished. Like you rather like Bayou wants to be banished. They want to be able to like burial or return from a different dimension. This hurts so much more. But on top of that, I'm able to recycle Caiuses. I'm able to recycle breakers. Like having that, so like this is another extra chain link that also lets me recycle stuff. I can recycle Gores. I recycle today. I didn't do it, but in general, sometimes you'll have this ability to recycle Gores, and now they're like, shoot, I can't attack. Like it's like I'm freely safe from like BS and stuff. But yeah, I think Compulse is really nuts. You side it out a lot because there's a lot of decks where it's not that good, but 99% of the time, like you rather have it than not. It's a very strong defensive chainable trap. At worst, you bounce like a monster that could be normal summon, but you're still gonna win if you can do that. Oh my lord. Then here's the main text. So I no longer run Good Goblin Housekeeping. I don't believe in it anymore. And I no longer believe in Reckless Greed. And let me explain why. This deck doesn't really plus. It has 1 card that pluses, which is Accumulated Fortune. But if Accumulated Fortune, like if you don't see Accumulated Fortune and you just see Reckless Greeds or you just see Good Goblin Housekeepings, you're legitimately always in the back foot. You're down a card. You're down a card advantage. And I don't like that. And I think that was what really strayed me away from those cards because I was like, I think we just forced ourselves to run those cards so we can get Accumulated Resolve, but I realized I can get Accumulated Resolve with my opponent's cards. Like I don't need to just do it by myself. And I do it every time. Like I make sure like they do something first, like Chainlink 1, think, Chainlink 2, like be able to do it like that, even without RHYNOS. There are multiple duels where I never saw RHYNOS, and I still resolved Accumulated Fortune. So that's why I don't run Reckless or Good Goblin anymore. They're too much of a minus and they're not worth it, and you don't need it. You genuinely don't need it. And instead, these are the 3 cards that replaced. These 3 cards that replaced it. I'm main decking 1 Dust Tornado, and you might think like, why are you main decking Dust Tornado when your card like RHYNOS doesn't get hurt by it? It's because you don't always see RHYNOS, and also Dust Tornado's freaking goated right now. Like Dust Tornado is another chain link. Sometimes they'll like just having the ability to dust things in the chain can matter, because they might like try to like MST some blindly and stuff, chain this, whatever. But also it hits whirlwinds, it hits future fusions, it hits just like really powerful. Royal Oppression can be a little bit annoying. Like it only hits 3 of our cards, or 4 of our cards, Battle Fader and the 3 Fires of Doomsday, but like that's enough. But just in general, sometimes they'll set like a back row thing in the safe, and you can just snipe it real quick. Dust Tornado just feels really good. It's chainable, and it helps make your chain links happen. I like it. I like it at 1, and I side 2 more, which we'll talk about in a second. But here are the MVP. Love this card. Never getting rid of it. I might even run 3 because I genuinely think it's so good. It just gives on your turn, it gives your monster 400 attack. So it can be enough to like, they attack with Sirocco, they attack with Alias, they attack with any 1900 or up beater. This will catch them by surprise, especially because you can activate it in damage step on your turn, on your opponent's turn. And then in the grave, on your turn, you can banish it, and it makes your monster gain 800 attack. And that's the thing people always talk about RHYNOS. They're like, RHYNOS can't get over like a dupe block, or can't get over a dupe frog, can't get over any 2000 beater. I said a debris dragon, what do you do, right? Obviously, we already have Caius to deal with most of that stuff, but on top of that, we have the skill successors now that makes RHYNOS bigger than Stardust. It makes it bigger than anything 2500 and below, it can run over now. And it's really easy for it to go. And on top of that, this also protects RHYNOS in a way that isn't a full minus. So sometimes like, I'll have to use this because like the brain control the RHYNOS. I'll chain skill successor on the RHYNOS, chain effect, get back to hand. And you think like, oh, that kind of sucks, I wasted this, but you didn't, because it's in grave, and they're worried about that, because now they're like, shoot, I have to worry about this other card that can like swing for game with me. Because like sometimes I'll attack and be like, damage, and it's enough, right? Which happened, I think, game 1 of the tournament, like, which is kind of funny. But yeah, I love skill successor. I think it's super cool. Oh, and you can also, because it's a trap in grave, you can chain it on your turn in grave. So say like I summon Breaker, and I have this in grave already. Breaker, chain link 1, chain link 2, they bottomless, chain link 3, chain skill successor. Now I could just have it accumulated in the back row with no other cards, and I'm able to successfully resolve it. Like, it's nuts. It's actually like another chain link that you can have too. So yeah. Now on the last 3 cards, Torrential, Mirror Force. Torrential's broken in this deck, and then Needle Sealing. Needle Sealing is because dupe block is annoying, but also just because in this particular deck, you can resolve it more than any other deck. RHYNOS plus Needle Sealing is insane. It basically says, it's basically like Lightning Vortex on crack. It is dead sometimes, I get it. Like sometimes people are like, I don't want to run it, but it's even better in my build because I run the Fires of Doomsday. So sometimes like I'll just have a token or 2 out. Needle Sealing is automatically more live than any other version of RHYNOS. So, and it's won me so many games. Every time I saw it, like, and it was live, it was super nuts. It won me against a dupe block in the first round against Andy. Just having it main decked. But Torrential does the same thing but better. I think Needle Sealing can be better at times because you can use it whenever you want. But Torrential's obviously goated out of your mind. And then Mirror Force is Mirror Force. It's Mirror Force. Like, I can't explain it. We don't run Trap Dust Shoot, and I think most Winged RHYNOS players agree that it's just not good enough to be run. Like, it's a great card, don't get me wrong, but because it's not always chainable, it will clog your back row more than it will help a lot of the time. And you just don't want cards that don't do anything. And I know it's crazy because Trap Dust Shoot is a great card, and you do cycle through your deck, but if it's just sitting there and turning off your gores, or like sitting there and never like being activated, and like your opponent's just swinging over and over again, the opponent already doesn't believe your back row is real. Imagine having an actual not real back row. Like,
Right, real dead back row.
That's also why I don't run Starlight Road. I'm not afraid of heavy. You play around it very well. You run so many chainable cards that Heavy Storm is almost a minus sometimes for the opponent, or at least a neutral. You do your best to not get minus by heavy, by having like multiple draw cards or even accumulated. If you resolve an accumulated and they heavy you just plus. So yeah, I don't believe in Starlight Road. Starlight Road's bad. Don't run it in this deck. Side or extra first?
Let's go.
Extra's not real. So.
Yeah, let's just go side deck.
Extra's not real. The Chimeras are all that matter. Chimera techs are all that matter because you do need a third because you run Transmigration Prophecy. So have the third, but otherwise whatever synchros you want. Like, I think the only other one that might matter that's a little bit specific is Arcanite, because you do run Breaker. But otherwise every generic 8, every generic 5, every generic 6. Like, you don't have to think. This is the only one that I think you should run, because if they like have an Urbellum, you run Brain Control. So if they have like an Urbellum, which happens a lot, or like a Gale, this can win you games because you have breakers. But otherwise, yeah, just get tokens and Chimera attacks. Okay, now the side deck. This side deck is fully. I think it's a really solid one. Kaiku is I run one Kaiku. With the skill successors, this gets its effect off a lot. A lot of players will side around RHYNOS, they'll side decrees or they'll side trap stuns, and this just doesn't care. And this just like puts in a lot of pressure against different types of decks in this format: zombies, frogs, just anything that relies heavily on the grave. I only think you need one. You don't want to have too many monster count. Usually, depending on the matchup, you just side out like a RHYNOS or two, because RHYNOS doesn't do anything if your opponent's not running real traps. You side out breakers or whatever it takes, but I think the ratio matters of like how many tribute summons you have and stuff, or how many normal summons you have. You don't want to have too many. You don't want to side out like traps for Kaiku. You want to side out like a breaker or a RHYNOS for this. But one's fine. One has been fine. I see it all the time. And when I don't see it, it's okay. You're playing other good cards. 2 crows. Crow. I used to main deck crow before. I don't do it anymore. I don't think it's necessary. I think the frog matchup is really good. I had it in because I was so afraid of Treeborn Frog, but now I'm realizing it's not that bad. But this is just insanely good. People put in decrees and expecting that to be enough, but like this doesn't care. It's another chain link. This is another important thing. You can chain it whenever. So sometimes I just do that just to get the accumulated off. It's just a good card. I like Crow. I think 2 is all you need. You don't need more than that. You don't want to break too much on crows, but it did me pretty well every time I saw it. Vanity's Fiend is the real MVP of the side deck because Fires of Doomsday has a stipulation where it's only darks. Vanity's Fiend is a dark that can summon with it, and this, they just don't expect it. And I usually wait. I like have it in my hand a lot, and I don't want to get it out. I want to make sure RHYNOS is putting in pressure, or like other cards are putting in pressure, breakers baiting out stuff first. And then when I like summon this, it's usually like a bomb that like ends the duel. Because most decks that this is good against can't really deal with it consistently. Like there's outs to it, don't get me wrong, and I got outed multiple times, but like if it sticks enough, you can just win.
Right, it's a problematic card.
Oh yeah, it's too strong. To help compensate with the Vanity's Fiends, sometimes I put in if I put in extra tribute monsters. Oh, this is against I put Cyber Dragons in against machines, obviously, against big beaters like Glad Beasts, Glad Beast or Heroes, whatever. Cyber Dragon just a good general beatdown card that you like. It also acts as another tribute fighter for Caius. If I'm putting in extra like Vanity's Fiends and not taking out Caius's, then I have a little bit less tribute fodder, and having Cyber Dragon helps compensate for that. So that's why I think 2 is all you really. I mean, you can only run 2, but 2's good. I like it a lot. If I'm going first and I'm running extra Monarchs or extra like Vanities, or I even side out some Fires of Doomsdays against like Blackwings, because against Blackwings specifically, Fires of Doomsday is kind of bad. Like it gets beat. They just free XP for them, or free damage for them. Snowman Eater's pretty good. This deck doesn't lose to deck devastation at all. Like it has 1 card here, 1, 2, 3 cards that get hurt by deck dev. If your deck dev is a minus for them 90% of the time, so I don't feel afraid siding this in against Blackwings, because a good Blackwing player should not be keeping deck dev in. Like even if it does hit this, it's like, dude, like cool, like you used the 2 for 1.
Right.
Like it's really not like I think this is safe. That's why I like Snowman Eater in this build. And it's just more Caius fodder / Vanity's Fiend fodder. And then I run 2 Noblemen across out. Raikos are annoying, but I actually think Spies are annoying too. Gravekeeper Spy can be very frustrating. Recruiters are very annoying, so like X-Sabers or Fairies, this is very good against Recruiters, because those are just cards like you do run Caius's, but you don't have enough Caius's to deal with this many Recruiters or this many BS cards. So Double Knock is good. I think you don't need more than that. I sometimes only side 1, but it just depends. And then 2 Dusts, just for general like floodgate type stuff that isn't decree. Their breakers deal with decree. Like if you know decree's coming in, you keep breakers in. This is for everything else. And then Transmigration Prophecy. This is the 3rd crow, and it's better in some matchups. But this card is insane. I think it's the fact that you can chain RHYNOS to it is great. It's another chain link. I would run 3 of this over crow if I could, but I can't, so I won't. But Transmigration Prophecy is nuts, and then the second Needle Sinner for dupe block cards, decks that swarm. Yeah, that's the whole thing, and I won all this with it. Wow,
sick.
What is it? Is it even good? No.
We'll find out. Any final words?
Play winged rhinos, people. Please, we need to cook with this. I want to know what's next in the innovation thing. But shout out Team Starlight. I'm technically a member. I'm just the shadow.
Fourth member.
I'm the fourth member. Yeah, I'm the fourth member that shows up very rarely. But I rep Team Starlight. Subscribe. Please subscribe. It's super dope. Let's get us to over 100. Let's get to 200. Let's get to 200 subscribers on this channel, okay? I'll try to be on it more. I'll do commentary on the duels and stuff. So
Sick.
if you want to see the duels, they'll be on the channel a bit later, and then we'll do some commentary on it, okay?
Cool. You heard it here. Marco's on the channel.
On the channel, baby.